All right, so let's talk about what's next on the agenda. I still have to do my clear coat in here, like I did on this side. So this is finally dried. I'll do a light little sanding on that. But here's where we're working on the seat. I did trim that down so it's no longer for a canoe. We're gonna round off the edges. I think I want this to actually be in contact with the outside edges. I want to try and distribute the weight as much as possible. But as you'll notice, I went through and I took some more pine, cut the angles. All I did was trace that angle in terms of putting the wood up next to here and then being able to draw that. I will attach these in. I'm thinking about doing little pin dowels in here and then ever so lightly drilling into here, epoxying it onto the base. And I really want it on the outside edge of these webbings because I don't want that to be impeding on that. So we're going to be slightly outside of that. And we'll make sure that we get this centered over. But this will be kind of our settings. And I'll probably just pin dowel it because I don't think it's going to wear out. If I run into problems, I could always drill out those pin dowels because I'm not going to glue this to here. I'm just going to dowel it and then have it set. Or I can do a wood screw insert. There's different options that I've got. I just haven't figured it out quite yet. But if I do need to do repairs on this, that's something that I want to think, being able to remove this, fix it, and then put it back in. The foot braces, I have them cut out. I've kind of been thinking that maybe I did these wrong. Let me explain why. The part here that's going to be attached inside, again, I wanted a small, confined, as tight as possible. I have 3 holes. In terms of making adjustments, and I just have a dowel here right now. It's just so I can kind of play and figure out how this is going to work. So they'll set in, you'll be able to take your feet, flip them up, and then be able to work. And then, as I said, 3 adjustments, kind of like a short, medium, and tall, or however you want to call it. That'll allow me to work. I just need to figure out where I want them on the sides down there. What probably would have been better, because now I'm concerned, when you look at the wood and the wood grain here in terms of the design, this is a very thin portion right here in terms of material holding on, especially as you're pushing on this. One, I'm going to do a fiberglass reinforcement on these, but I got to thinking really what should happen is this Baltic birch lamination really should be the outside and the Purple Heart should be the inside pedal in order to give contrast. That way you've got multiple laminations that will hold up here. But like I said, if these break when I do my second round, that's how I'm going to make those changes. But anyways, those are my feet or foot braces that I will be putting down there. I just need to make that measurement. I'm going to measure it off of the center one so that I can adjust fore and aft depending on how I'm feeling. If I want to stretch out, unplug, unpin them, put them down, or if I'm feeling short, whatever it might be. So those will be going in as well. So we need to make sure that we get our attachments to the hole nice and tight and aligned so that everything fits nice, flat, and flush. Let's start working on that. All right, I'm doing some experimentation here in relation to the thwart and the backrest, and distance, center, and so forth. So you'll notice that I have a balance point of my canoe. I just did that as a quick little stretch cord in order to see that. One of the tricks though, in order to figure out where I'm placing my seat, as I said, I went through and cut these off, marked them, but then I did a quick little wood screw into my boards that have been cut at a taper, and then jointed down to the thickness necessary. I made my marks with a Sharpie. I don't know if you can see that right there. And then once I fit these in, I should be really stable. So now I am ready to go ahead and epoxy those together. I will probably take these out and either countersink them down if I'm going to use the wood screws so that I can pull them out. These are deck screws, so they're coated. The one thing that I was taught a long time ago by a professional wood carver on carousel horses was he said, when you're doing stuff with wood, try and keep the metals out because it produces a dry rot. Any of those metals really do attract moisture and then it starts to rot around the wood. Well, being a boat, obviously we're going to have issues with that over time, depending on how much I dry it out each time. So if I store it dry, I probably won't have a problem for decades. However, That's why I try and do as many wood dowels versus wood screws. Even up here, I have not done anything in terms of wood screws. I'll try and dowel it preferably rather than the other. So those are some of the things, but I got a nice fit. I am going to cut these into small blocks rather than the whole stringer. Again, trying to contain the weight and so forth, as well as less areas for water to kind of pool up. So I'm really happy with how this worked out. I'm going to go ahead and cut, epoxy, and then probably just countersink the screws for the moment. And then maybe next time I go ahead and drill them out and then put dowels in. But I can do that at any time. I don't have to do it right now. This, I like how it fits. All right, so a couple of things from this morning work that we were doing last night. The seat is now glued in on its riser blocks. I did go ahead and cut out the middle portion of that because I, again, don't necessarily need excess wood added on here. So there's just the little nubs that have been glued in. And with these wood screws right now, I can undo that, take this off, and I can clear coat underneath it. Then I'll come back and think about how I really want to permanently fasten it down. Maybe I'll use stainless steel fasteners, maybe I'll use brass fasteners, or maybe I'll use a wood dowel. But again, I also want to think if something happens to anything, can I remove it without damaging the vessel and then being able to replace it? I did put in my foot pegs, my braces. I do have some concerns on their rigidity or their strength because it's a very narrow, it's basically what, 5/8 of an inch wide contact point. I almost feel like it needs to be a little bit wider, but we're just going to go with this and we're going to see. Time will tell if it's strong enough. But I did use the Baltic birch ply. This is a 7-layer ply. So I have no problems with that or the holes or anything like that, but I am worried about the upper portion of the actual foot brace because Purple Heart, it's a strong wood, but the wood grain pattern is what I'm concerned about. So I'm going to fiberglass around those edges, and I think I told you that I should have done, if you will, a Baltic birch outside with then a Purple Heart inside. These are removable. I can take the screws out, and again, brass fasteners, stainless steel fasteners, I'm not certain. I would like to do wood, but I kind of need to feel over time if that's going to work. A couple of tricks. One, I did find my balancing point. I just rolled this on a dowel on a board as it suspended up. Once I found that, that's how I placed my seat based off of the center point of that seat. And then from the center point of that seat forward, based off of my other canoe and how I have it set up, that's where I put my pegs. And I did it off the middle one, so I can either go a little long or a little short. And where I placed them, again, I ran the little elastic cord through there, and then I marked about the depth. I was more limited on what could my clamp reach down to. And that was my limiting factor. I don't have anything deeper than the 8-inch jaws on this. So with that being said, once I got it set up, in order to transfer it equally from one side, I set this up, I marked it, just a quick little spring clamp, and then that's how I made my adjustments from one side to the other in order to make sure that they were as equal as possible. So those are some of the tricks or tips as we were putting in the inner pieces. I've got some areas that I need to sand, I need to clear coat this, and then the thwart is the last thing. I'm half tempted to take this outside, actually sit in it and kind of figure where I want this to be, because this won't be adjustable, this won't be adjustable, and I'm actually going to have a backrest. It'll be a little bit lower. And before I start making cuts, I'm thinking I would love to have this be an inset, you know, a tenon inset in order to just add more stability and strength to it. But we'll see. I'm not fond of butt joints. So, or I could dowel it, run a pin dowel through there, and that might be another process. So I'm almost ready for the backrest thwart to be put in there. And then, like I said, a little bit more sanding, and then we're ready to put the clear coat on. Still waiting for that. That should be shipped in the next day or so. So let's get back to work.